Welcome to Backyard Philosophy, a podcast where a couple friends grab some cold ones, sit around the fire, and talk about science, philosophy, and history. Crack one open, sit back, and get a good laugh as we discuss everything from automation to why the meaning of life is 42.
Most people know the term Luddite to mean someone who's against technology and wants to go back to the old ways where it was much better. But that's not really the case with the Luddites. Their cause kind of got co-opted to mean that, and we use the term Luddite to refer to someone who, generally an older generation, who just hasn't figured out how to use their smartphone. But before we get into that, Mike, how you doing? What are you drinking?
I'm doing fantastic. It seems like you're going to be talking about yourself this episode. And I'm drinking some Buffalo Trace. How about you, my friend? How are you and what are you drinking?
I got some Coors Light here, some mass-produced Coors Light, which you would think would be the enemy of the Luddites, but we'll kind of get into that. So around the beginning of the 19th century, kind of the Industrial Revolution, textile mills and machines were putting people out of business because you could do it more efficiently and cheaper with the machine than you could with someone just sewing a shirt. The story is a man, Ned Ludd, broke 2 stocking frames in rage because this machine was taking his job, and that's what supposedly spurred the Luddite movement. He became the leader. He became a general, General Ludd, and he told people to rise up and break these machines that are taking our jobs. They're making it harder for us to live and work. We can't find jobs, we're all going to be out of business, we won't be able to work, provide for our families, and that ignited kind of protests all across England.
They took our jobs.
They took their jobs. But here's the thing, Ned Ludd never existed.
Oh, that's a big issue.
So he was kind of like a Tom the Tinker, we think. He maybe was a few different people. Letters were sent to people with his name on it, but there wasn't an actual Ned Ludd. So that was one of the big first things that I found out wasn't true. But here's the other thing, Mike. At this time, England was at war with France in the Napoleonic Wars. They were in a rough patch financially. The economy wasn't doing a lot. They were spending most of their resources fighting. There wasn't a lot of work going around, and you had the textile mills that were, putting some of the smaller people out of business. But the Luddites, and everyone thought it was against technology taking the jobs, but really there's just terrible economic conditions. There wasn't a lot of work. There wasn't a lot of food. I mean, these people, one of their demands were jobs. They were demanding work. It wasn't that they were demanding, that the machines go away and leave them jobs. One of the other things they wanted was they wanted it to be skilled labor working on the machines. And I don't particularly think that this is a realistic expectation, but they wanted the machine operators to be like apprenticeships, and you have to learn from someone and kind of regulate it so that you get paid more because you'd be skilled labor at that point. But the problem, not that I'm saying that I could run one of these, but it didn't take a long time to learn it. So it wasn't, you didn't need to be skilled labor, but the Luddites wanted it to be skilled labor. Basically, they wanted to get paid more, and that was their excuse.
Don't we all, though? Don't we all?
But, like I said, whoever started it, the Luddites, were upset about the conditions. Now, it doesn't seem like there's a huge argument. Some people say that it's because of the machines. Some people say it's because of the economic conditions. To me, it seems like it's more the conditions. If they were okay with working with the machines, if they got paid more. It's not like get rid of the machines because they're taking our jobs. It's, yeah, I can do that, just pay me more, right? If it was against the machines, that wouldn't have been on the table. So as these protests started spreading, like protests do, they got increasingly more violent. So it started with some Luddites breaking some machinery, some textile machines. They called them stocking frames. And so they'd break those.
What's a stocking frame?
It's, you've seen it in a textbook, I guarantee it. It's that thing that just moves the...
Is it like a loom?
Piece. Yeah, it's kind of like a loom. Pretty much. It makes just like a strip of fabric, like a long thing of fabric. So they were breaking those, and then it went from breaking just those, because they'd break one or two as like a they still want to work for these people, right? So they just wanted to show them that they were upset. So they'd break, a frame here or there. Well, then the landowners would get, or the shop owners, the mill owners would get mad, and then they'd, hire other people, and then those people would get mad that they got fired, so then they'd burn down the buildings. And then the owners would come with, soldiers and defend the buildings with the guns, and then the people would get mad that they were there with guns, so then they'd start shooting at each other, and then eventually one of the Luddites shot a mill owner, so then the mill owners and the English army, the English sent in 14,000 troops to kind of quell this little rebellion. And this is a lot of troops for at a time when they were still fighting Napoleon.
I was going to say 14,000?
It's not like they could just spare. I mean, it's about a quarter of the troops that were currently fighting Napoleon at that time.
Oh my God.
Because this is going on all over England. It started predominantly in Nottingham, but
I feel like there's a joke there with Robin Hood and Luddites.
Exactly. I mean, Ned Ludd is like a Robin Hood character, right? He is essentially stealing from the rich, giving to the poor, and he didn't exist. So, but the army came in, and they, in response to the killing of some of the mill owners, they hanged the Luddites, and they sent many to the land down under.
That's a bit extreme, but okay.
Well, I mean Australia.
Yeah, I know, but land down under, but
okay.
But to still, I mean, if you're sending 14,000 troops across your country to suppress people, that's got to be quite a few people, and to send even a small portion of them to a different continent, which granted is your prison continent, that's still a lot of people.
Yeah, but the conflict escalated. It went from breaking a few machines here and there to textiles being burned down, to other plants being burned down, to people being killed. And this is at a time when a lot of this stuff that was being produced was for the military, so they needed that locked down. And then England, English people aren't always the nicest, I guess. I don't know.
Well, if it's something when you're at war, I imagine the social structures kind of got to change, where it's the war effort first, then people's needs. Because if you get kind of taken over and killed, it doesn't really matter how you feel.
Exactly. But yeah, the Luddites, for being used as a symbol of anti-technology, which is originally what I thought when I started this research, from 18, even before that, 17 something to now, they really seem like it was just about, they just wanted better economic conditions, that the country, England, was more focused on fighting Napoleon and then dealing with that, and it just escalated.
Out of curiosity, Nick, how does it kind of like get solved? I mean, you have troops there, you're sending people to Australia, you're still at war with Napoleon. I have no idea how to solve this problem.
Kind of just went away.
I guess Father Time always wins. You just close your eyes and you just shut your eyes and cover your ears and you just pretend it's not there.
Well, it turns out that people want better economic conditions, and they're willing to break a few machines for it and burn some factories, but not enough to fight the English army. So they just went back to work.
Sometimes I guess you got to cut your losses while you're ahead.
Is it better to get paid a little bit less than have to live in Australia? Some people would say so.
I feel like there's a lot of jokes here that that I feel like could be made. But yeah, I guess at the end of the day, you still need to eat. And I had no idea. For some reason, I felt like Luddites was more of a cult movement. I had no knowledge of Luddites coming in, that rather than just that the stereotype that they hated technology. For some reason in my mind, I thought Luddites would come from like a cult or a religion, not a, hey, they took our jobs.
Yep, they just started following the story of Ned Ludd breaking those frames, and I don't know where that story came from, because he's not a real person.
It's amazing how many revolutions, riots all start from people who don't exist.
Yeah, that'd be a good episode too. That'd be interesting. But it's still a common term used today, and it's just one of those things that we're all using in the wrong sense.
Sounds like the entire English dictionary.
Yeah, the people use the term Luddite to describe people who, are against AI, but I really think a better description would be people who want $15 minimum wage.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, now you know how to use the term Luddite correctly, where it came from.
I can barely speak English. You think I'm still going to use that correctly?
Oh, it's a pretty easy word.
Well, thank you, Nick. I learned a little bit, and now I will not misuse a word, which is kind of a pet peeve of mine.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the Backyard Philosophy Podcast. We rarely finish a podcast without missing a point we wanted to bring up, so let us know what we forgot. And if you have a topic you want us to talk about, let us know at Backyard Philosophy on Instagram